I do think the Yankees come into this series with a much more well-rounded offense than they did with Soto, even though Soto's played well. They really, through the first half year of the season, and I'm going to knock on some wood right here, they really haven't missed Soto offensively.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Nice rewarded off day for the Yankees. I guess not deserved, but rewarded.
Right. We deserve it. Not sure that they deserve it. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, and hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. And we have a new TikTok page. If you're there, follow us if you can at LockedOn_Yankees. So on today's show, we have some news from around the league. Who is calling up their number one prospect? We will let you know. Do the Yankees have to make a move for a bullpen piece? We'll discuss that. But first, let's preview the Royals series. We're kind of doing things a little backwards because we usually do previews at the end, but we figured the Yankees played the Royals in the ALDS. It's an ALDS rematch, so we can talk about what the Royals have done so far and what the Yankees have done so far.
Yeah, it's a fairly exciting and notable series, right? Yankees-Royals is a pretty big-time series. I think overall the sense around the league is it's been a fairly underwhelming year for the Royals so far. They're not playing up to expectations. They should be a lot better than they are. Quite frankly, they're another one of those teams that falls into the slot of should have spent more money than they did in the offseason. When you had a young team that's ready to strike and you don't spend the money, especially with a lackluster division that they play in. But I think a lot of people expected a little bit more out of the Royals, and so far they have not gotten that.
So the Yankees won that series 3-1. I don't know. Were you worried about that series at all? Because I sort of was, but then after the first game, I was like, okay.
Well, they went back to KC 1-1, and I think after the game 2 loss, you got a little bit worried just because of their pitching. Their starting last year was really good, and I do think sometimes in series like that, especially with them going back to Kansas City, with Kansas City having the home field advantage.
Yeah, 5-game series are like that. Yeah,
there was a chance that with their good pitching, the Yankees certainly. Historically, definitely follow the trend of just collapsing offensively for no reason.
Right.
There was a chance something could have happened, but overall, was I overly worried? No.
Right. So what's changed since the ALDS for both teams? The Yankees, kind of a big deal. They don't have Juan Soto anymore, but they got Bellinger, they got Goldschmidt, Fried. Fried's a big deal. That's the big deal pitching-wise. Going into this series.
And he'll start in the first game against the Royals, someone they didn't see last year, and they certainly haven't seen a lot of because he was a Brave for so long. I do think the Yankees come into this series with a much more well-rounded offense than they did with Soto, even though Soto's played well. They really, through the first half year of the season, and I'm going to knock on some wood right here, they really haven't missed Soto offensively.
Right.
They've gotten the quality of at-bats necessarily isn't there, but the power numbers are there. The run production is there. They're not missing him as much when it comes to a production standpoint.
You know what's also different? Aaron Judge isn't really slumping. He may not be hitting home runs as much, but the man's still hitting 390s. Like
it's crazy that you say he might not be hitting home runs as much, and he still has 23 in the month of June, which is nuts. If you look at Aaron Judge's numbers, if you take Aaron Judge's numbers right now, excluding the average, his power numbers right now, and put them on Gleyber Torres' full season last year, you would have took that out of Gleyber Torres.
Oh, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
And then we're 2 months in.
I saw a stat earlier. Oh, Aaron Judge's OPS is still 1,200. And in order for him to get to the league average of 700, he would have to go like 0 for 201 to get down to a 700 OPS.
It's ridiculous. His OPS plus 2 is
Oh, it's above 2.
It's above 200, and the league average is I think it's like 270 something, and the league average is 100. It's
the year
insane.
he hit 62, his OPS plus was 211.
Yeah. and he's in the 270s now. It's ridiculous.
It's crazy. So the Yankees so far this season, as you all know, first place in the AL East. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. They're sitting at 39 and 25. So they had 2 series losses to the Dodgers and Red Sox, which sandwiched a series win against Cleveland this past week-ish, where the Royals are 34 and 32 in 4th place in the AL Central. They're 500 in their last 10 games like the Yankees. But the thing about the AL Central is you have the Tigers ahead of the Twins, Guardians, Royals, but the Twins, Guardians, Royals are all within 2 games of each other, and then you have the White Sox.
And the Tigers are running away with the division. I will say this. The reason why me and Stacey have stressed hot starts to the Yankees and winning series is exactly for the reason that we're in right now. The Royals had a 500 stretch in their last 10 games and are now only 2 games over 500. They're 34 and 32. The Yankees had the exact same stretch. They're still 14 games over 500. Those hot starts and winning those series and those BS 1 o'clock Sunday games where you have a pitcher with a 5 ERA on the mound, those are important games to win for this exact reason.
Yep. The Royals brought up rookie Jack Cagliano.
Mm-hmm.
Started his first 5 games, 2 for 21, but then he went 4 for 4 on Sunday. He hasn't hit a home run yet. He'll make his Royals home debut on Tuesday night against the Yankees. And he's a pretty big boy. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, and he was picked 6th overall in the 2024 draft. So he's
really
spent
quick
his way through the minors. Yeah.
So they started him in Double-A at the start of this year. After spring training, they sent him directly to Double-A, which their Double-A is Royals Double-A Northwest Arkansas, which is, I wonder how many people they're drawing per night. Quickly moved up to Triple-A, which is in Omaha, a little bit bigger of a city. Stacey, look at his numbers right here. He played in 50 games. You want to read them off just real quick?
So he batted .322 with 15 home runs and 56 runs batted in
50 games in the minor leagues. I mean, that is just absurd of dominant level, especially after you get drafted in 2024. I mean, he did go to college, yes, but Aaron Judge also went to college. His minor league numbers didn't look like that, and he certainly didn't run through the minor leagues like this either. So this kid's got some scary power, some scary pop, and he's going to be really fun to watch, but a really tough home debut for him going up against Max Fried.
Yeah, so Tuesday, Max Fried against Noah Cameron. Noah Cameron was only called up 5 games ago. So he's only pitched 31 innings, 5 starts ago, right? Is that how that works? So,
yeah.
But his numbers in those 5 starts, 2-1 with a 0.85 ERA, which when you look at Max Fried, 8-1 with a 1.78 ERA, and he's made a bunch of starts.
Yeah, and what's crazy, these are the products we're now seeing for the Royals. These are the products we're seeing off the bad years they had following the World Series, like layoff. After they won the World Series in, what was it? Was it 2015? And they went to the World Series in 2014. Those really good Royals teams that you saw. These minor leaguers that remember because they hung on to that team with the Pistachios and Hosmer, and they hung on to that team for a little bit afterwards. And then it kind of collapsed like 2019, 2020. It kind of fell apart. And these are the draft picks you're now seeing coming to fruition, and the Bobby Witt Jr.'s and the Noah Camerons. And these are the kind of guys that they drafted high in the draft. They had these high draft picks. Now you're kind of seeing these picks come to fruition and seeing them at the major league level. So we'll see a lot of young talent in this Royals system. I kind of think that they have a little bit more of an excuse than the Orioles do when it comes to not spending money, because I do think the Royals were very much ahead of schedule when it came to their good year last year. They had winning at the rate they did last year. Their pitching came a little out of nowhere. No one expected Seth Lugo to have the year that he had. So Mike Minor had a great year. Like, no one expected that to happen the way it did. And I will say the other thing too, they have a lot of prospects that are ETA in the next few years. So I think you don't want to make those big signings and spend that money too quickly. You know what I mean, Stacey? Because you don't want to make the big signings now, and then your younger prospects are able to crack in 2 or 3 years. Now those signings are now aging. So you kind of want to strike when the iron's hot. Like the Orioles' perfect time to strike was last offseason. Right. This is probably the perfect time to strike for the Royals. maybe in the next offseason or two. And they do spend money when they need to, too, by the way. The Royals do kind of spend when they need to. So, I don't fault them as much for last offseason not spending money as I do the Orioles.
Right. And I mean, maybe these young guys will be like that injection that usually happens with young prospects who are good. And maybe the Royals will go on a bit of a run now that they have more youth on the team.
And that might have to do with calling Cagliano up when they did too, but to be honest with you.
Yeah.
A kid with great numbers, really high promise, a 6th overall pick. Calling him up now could put a little bit of an injection into the team.
Yeah. So Tuesday night's game is on TBS. Wednesday is Amazon Prime Video. You'll see Clark Schmidt, who's 2-3 with a 4.04 ERA against Chris Bubich, who is 5-3 with a 1.43 ERA.
He's had a great year, and the Yankees often struggle against him. So that could be a game that's the it never works this way, but that's the proverbial loss in the series coming up.
Yeah. And then Thursday, yes, an MLB Network. Will Warren 4-3 with a 5.34 ERA against Cole Reagans, who's 2-3 with a 5.18 ERA.
Let's see if Will Warren can give them a nice bounce back start. He certainly needs one for his confidence.
Yeah. It wasn't as bad as the Dodgers, but
I'm pulling for him because I'm starting to really drink the Kool-Aid on Will Warren lately, so I'm really rooting for him here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the preview of this series between the Yankees and the Royals, and ALDS rematch. And luckily for us, the games aren't scheduled at a strange time. 7:40 is not bad.
Every game, every single one, which is good.
So that's good. We're no more late nights for us. Thank you, MLB schedule makers, for that. We appreciate that. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notification so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in our description. You'll get text from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades and signings. We send out the lineups during the season, roster moves, breaking news, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, do the Yankees have to make moves for the bullpen to make it better? We're going to discuss that next.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. And whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the easy, reliable way to order products available online. And their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, there's a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. You'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for the trade pros looking for that extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts available on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. You can get all those available and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, you can use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's all available at supplyhouse.com.
So we have a new way for you to leave questions for Fan Mail Friday on YouTube. If you go to our channel's page and you click on posts, you'll see the post where I tell you the deadline is Thursday at 5 p.m. You just leave the questions underneath that post and we will read them on Fan Mail Friday. You guys did a really great job this past week, by the way. There were 8 questions, all of them very good. So good job on that.
And we love your Fan Mail Friday stuff as always. Stacey, when your manager or creates problems for your roster, creates problems for your team, organically, I would say, and you're not going to fire your manager, you should probably do things to counteract what he's going to do wrong. No?
You would think.
Well, Aaron Boone has done his best job possible at pretty much torching the bullpen so far this year. The better thing they have from last season, this is very similar to last year. Because if you remember last year, all of their major bullpen arms spent time on the IL. All of them became unavailable once the postseason were not unavailable. I'd say ineffective once the postseason came at times because they were so gassed because they were used so much throughout the regular season. And we've stated earlier that the Luke Weaver injury could kind of be a blessing in disguise for the Yankees because it'll give him less innings on his arm while he's rehabbing a different kind of injury. Because the hamstring doesn't, if it was the shoulder, it would bother me. He could still throw with the hamstring injury, so it's not bothering me as much. What I would say is last year, it was Weaver, Holmes, and Tonkin. If you remember Tonkin from last year, where Boone just threw them almost every night. And any game they had a lead, they were out there. And it wound up cursing them at the end. It wound up making the Yankees. It was a smart move, but kind of a desperate move in going out to acquire Devin Williams and putting so much pressure on themselves to go acquire Devin Williams. It probably got Tim Hill a little bit more money than he deserved. It got Ryan Yarbrough a contract with the Yankees, and I don't think the Yankees were necessarily looking for him, but he was brought in to be a middle relief guy. It just created a lot of different things with the bullpen. And now that Ryan Yarbrough has been realized with the Marcus Stroman injury as a starter, and he's been a really good starter, they've lost that middle relief arm in the middle of their bullpen. I'll say this, Stacey. Where they're better at last year, they have more guys they can trust right now. There's more guys they trust out of their bullpen. Doesn't necessarily mean Boone is handling them properly, but there's more guys they trust. They clearly trust Weaver still. Fernando Cruz is very trusted. Devin Williams, he is in their circle of trust. I don't know if the high ERA and stuff is there, but they do trust him in big moments. They kind of have no option without his track record and what they traded for him. Kind of have no option. Jonathan Loaisiga, for sure, they trust. Tim Hill, they trust. And Mark Leiter Jr. I don't think in big moments, the other guys out of their bullpen, the De Los Santos of the team, I think are there to eat up as innings eaters, which is fine. Still, though, I think Boone has handled those 6 guys poorly. I think he uses them almost every night. He stretches them out a little too long. He uses them when they're not necessarily needed to be used because he can't use the other guys because he used them the previous night. It's not a well-managed bullpen. And it's, again, we bring this up all the time and there's no going back, but it's just a very, very, very staunch difference from the Joe Girardi years where the bullpen was handled terrifically. He managed to have the best bullpen in the league those years they were making playoff runs with Andrew Miller, Dylan Betances, and Aroldis Chapman. Now, still really good bullpen, really 3 really good relievers, but he really had only those 3 relievers. Now, there were guys in years there that would have good years here and there throughout the bullpen, but he didn't have 6 guys with high-quality stuff. And Aaron Boone had 6 guys with high-quality stuff. Yankees right now average the most innings per game out of their bullpen, which is a problem. They're not getting length out of their starters, and I don't necessarily think it's the starters that have been the problem, Stacey. I think a lot of it has to do with pulling guys a little too early, of having a quick trigger because Aaron Boone is so desperate to getting to the bullpen that it creates less innings for these guys. I think it's part of baseball culture now, but to me, you're not going to fire the manager. And this has clearly become a problem with using the bullpen, and he's not going to change the way he operates the bullpen. I think what this means is they have to go out there and make bullpen moves sooner rather than later.
So you think it's more of Boone taking guys out, starters out too soon, and not the starters not pitching well enough?
No, because I think their starting rotation has been really good, actually. Now, I think some guys could be more economical. Like you saw this Max Fried the other night where he had a lot of pitches through the first 4 innings. And in the 5th inning, he was like, screw it, I need a quick inning here. And it forced him to go out there, get a quick inning. He got you through 6. That's what ace-level pitchers do. Not everybody is that. You know, Ryan Yarbrough, for as good as he's been, gives you 5 innings. Now, he's been given them more lately, but it's generally a 5-inning starter, right? Carlos Rodon generally gives you 6. Better. I'll take that, right? But Clark Schmidt doesn't give you more than 5 pretty much ever. And the Yankees are quick to get him out of the game. That's the problem. And they're going to be cautious, too, with Will Warren because he's young. You have to manage these things better. There are days where your starter is not going to have his stuff, and you need to go to the bullpen earlier. I'm not saying that's not a thing. But you have 6 guys with plus stuff out of your bullpen that you really trust, and that's a credit to Brian Cashman, by the way, for building the bullpen the way he did, which he's generally been really good at. But you've because of the way the bullpen has operated and because of the way it's used, you tax yourself by the end of a week, every single week, and you're seeing this build up week by week, Stacey. Week by week, when you look at the bullpen chart, by Thursday or Friday, when the pregame shows the bullpen, every guy's got 20-something pitches multiple times a week.
I was just going to say, it is kind of funny that they show that now, right? Because you never saw that years ago.
No,
and no one knew how many.
Point.
It's a talking point now. Like, it's a graphic that, yes, specifically puts up to show you how the bullpen usage is, which is the strangest thing to me because they didn't do that 20 years ago. You didn't see that.
And that's the thing too. Like you, that's what the point we always make, right? when guys aren't hitting up to their average or what their baseball card should say, when their batting average isn't there, when their on base isn't there, when their OPS should be higher, those are all things that are the player's problem. Me and you never really blame Boone for stuff like that because he can't affect that. If Anthony Volpe's not going to hit for a week, it doesn't do it with Aaron Boone. It really doesn't. But this directly affects bullpen usage is like probably the most important thing a manager does in today's game because that is directly affected by him. And I'll say this to them to close out my point on why they need to make a move right now as opposed to wait till the deadline. The market is very slim right now. Very slim. This is not expected to be a big deadline. It's not expected to be a deadline where a lot of big pieces are being moved throughout the league. That coupled with the fact that this Yankee bullpen, the usage has gone up and their numbers have dwindled over the last few weeks. They have gotten worse. You've seen it yourself. There's been less really good bullpen performances the last couple of weeks as their bullpen is getting more and more tired. Plus, they don't have Luke Weaver for the next month. They need to go make a move now before the rest of the league realizes how desperate the Yankees are for a bullpen piece.
I see your point, but isn't Jake Cousins is on his way back, right?
Yeah, and but what tells you that Boone's not going to abuse his arm? You know what I mean? Like it's gotten to the point now where they have.
Well, what's to say that he's not going to abuse the new guy's arm?
Having Jake Cousins as well. It adds on another relief arm. Yeah. I think you need to have as many plus arms out of this bullpen as humanly possible to allow him to abuse the arms. Because again, you can't change his managerial style. You can't change the manager for sure. And you can't change the way that he's going to manage this bullpen. He's never been particularly good at managing the bullpen. So to me, if you're Brian Cashman, your job now on the flip side is to counteract that. Is to go get elite bullpen arms and just stock it up as much as humanly possible to really work around Boone's mistakes because he's not going to fix his bullpen usage. It's clearly not a strong point. We learned that in the World Series last year. But you've got 6 guys that are, I'd say, Stacey, you have 6 guys that could be closers on other teams in baseball. Legitimately. And all of them are tired. All of them are used a lot.
Yeah, and it's June 10th when this episode goes up, and these guys are already tired, and the season doesn't end until the end of September.
But the more that bullpen ERA rises, the more innings are on these guys' arms, which, by the way, it's going to go up significantly with the Luke Weaver injury. Yeah. The more they blow saves, the more Devin Williams struggles, is the more that teams around the league are going to realize the Yankees are desperate for a bullpen arm. And when that happens...
It's funny to think about, right? When you think about the fact that the Yankees are about to win their 40th game, they're in first place, but they're going to be desperate for a bullpen arm.
Because you're out there to win a World Series now at this point. You finally broke through the barrier and won the ALCS. I know the Tigers are good, and we'll have plenty of discussions about them the rest of the year. But the argument of getting through the American League, the Houston Astros don't exist anymore. I mean, yeah, they're there, but they're not their dominant self. Verlander's a giant right now. Bregman's a Red Sox, and they're not performing. There's no one in their way that's a legitimate, good enough excuse for them not to win the American League this year. There isn't. I'm sorry, and that's going to be the narrative all year. And I'll say this to close this segment out because it stands more true than any season that we've been both covering the Yankees in our professional lives. Even before Locked On Yankees, this partnership was a thing. This year, there is more pressure under them to go back to the World Series than there's been in the last 30 years. There just is. This team is more talented. There's no one in their way in front of them. They have an extremely high payroll. And this team should be in the World Series next year. You went to it last year, and you might consider that a curse because now their expectations are so high this year. But that's the case. There's no one in front of them, and there's no one that they have a legitimate excuse to not beat in the postseason this year. Nothing matters till October now. And I know Yankee fans have held on to that narrative since the 90s that nothing matters till October, but that wasn't necessarily true in years past. Now it is. It's definitively true. They can win 110 games this year. It won't matter if you lose in the DS.
All right, well, coming up, we're going to take a look around the league and tell you which team called up their number 1 prospect next.
Ever check your bank account and wonder where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it becomes very easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all available in one place. So you stop managing your money and start building wealth. And when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. And now I budget smarter and I even save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan for some of those long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is also smoother than ever. You can track your shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. Take care of your finances at Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And guys, not only do we cover your team every day, but we're now giving you instant episodes after every single game too. You can check out the Locked On Yankees postcast. It's hosted by Jay Berman, and it appears right here on the Locked On Yankees podcast feed, as well as streaming on our YouTube channel that you should all follow because we're very close to 10,000 followers. Get rapid reaction to all the biggest moments with the Locked On Yankees postcast. Stacey, we just talked about in the first segment the Royals calling up Jack Cogliano, their top prospect, along with their top pitching prospect pitching against the Yankees. Well, the Red Sox are also calling up their top prospect, and he's not just their top prospect. He's the top prospect in all of baseball. Roman Anthony, the outfielder, will play right field for them. Also, he is apparently in the process of learning how to play left field at Fenway. They just didn't want him to be in left field with the monster and everything, so they're going to debut him in right field. Scary stuff with how good the Red Sox farm system is.
Yeah. I like that it's not that easy to play left field in Fenway. And, you see fans of other teams get on their outfielders when something happens with the Green Monster, but you really have to know how to play that wall. So when the Yankees, the Orioles, the Rays, and the Blue Jays played Boston 19 times a year and played half those games at Fenway, those fielders got used to it. But if you were a team that didn't play Boston that often and you were stuck out there playing left field, it's not that easy. It really isn't that easy because the ball it could hit at a certain angle or hit like the out of town scoreboard and fly into center field and ricochet all over the place. So I will give that kid credit if he learns how to play left field and he's good at it. Yeah,
great bat for them. Marcello Mayer was also their infield prospect, who was the number 2 prospect in their system. He was called up also. So they've got a lot of young prospects with really high rankings
against the Yankees, didn't he?
Yeah, with really high rankings of coming up through their system. So it's a little scary to see what they're offering. And speaking of top prospects, by the way, anyone remember the name Lamont Wade Jr.? He was one of the top prospects in all of baseball, 1.2, and the Giants had him called up. They DFA'd him over the weekend because he's hitting 167 this year. And then when he cleared waivers, they traded him to the Angels for cash consideration. So really crazy stuff when you see prospects like that just completely fall off the map.
You just never know how a prospect's going to be. I mean, Yankee fans know all about that because of how many prospects haven't panned out the way you thought they were going to. Or you have some prospects who were like really highly touted and then, had respectable MLB careers, nothing special. Their numbers aren't going to be.
You know who I think's becoming that? Anthony Volpe. Highly touted as this unbelievable can't miss prospect, and he's just becoming a respectable major leaguer. That's nothing against Anthony Volpe. I think we'd all die to become a respectable major leaguer. And if Anthony Volpe stays at this level, he'll easily make $18 to $22 million a year as a starting shortstop in the league who hits you 260 with 90 RBIs and 25 homers and becomes a respectable player, which we all hope for Anthony Volpe. But Anthony Volpe came up with these expectations that he was the next Derek Jeter.
Yeah.
And it's not really fair to the kid at all. But it's crazy when you see the prospects turn out like Lamont Wade Jr., where it's just like, how was the talent this high? And all of a sudden it's just not there at the next level. Crazy to see.
Speaking of high level talent, Paul Skeens.
That one came true though.
Yeah, he's a really, really good. He was excellent over the weekend once again, but didn't get a win. 7 2/3 innings. That's how you're supposed to pitch. 7 2/3 innings, and then your team won't have bullpen issues. 0 earned runs, only 2 hits, 7 Ks, and here's the stuff. He's 4-6 with a 1.88 ERA.
He's absurdly talented. He's great. They actually beat the Phillies in that game. They swept the Phillies over the weekend, who are free falling right now. But it's the Pirates' mismanagement over him has been, nothing short of atrocious with how they've handled him. Which, by the way, I don't know if you realize this too. I'm sure you do, but I don't know if the rest of the league does. or the rest of the of our listeners do. Andrew McCutchen plays every day for the Pirates. He's hitting 255 actually, which isn't that bad. How is Andrew McCutchen still in the league? Does anybody realize that he's still in the league right now? It's crazy that he's still a full-time MLB starter right now. I'm just trying to pull up Paul Skeens' numbers for all you guys because you'd be very interested to hear.
Well, I think this was going to be his last year, right? That's why he.
So yeah. I mean, that's why he's playing with the Pirates. But it's just wild that he's an everyday player hitting 260.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens right now has a 9.1 Ks per 9. He's got a 1.88 ERA. He's got 92 strikeouts on the year. He's got a 0.84 WHIP. It's just his numbers are absolutely absurd. Here's his projection, Stacey. 223 innings, which no one does anymore. A 226 strikeouts, only 49 walks. He's on pace to have a ridiculously crazy year and potentially win the Cy Young Award and be on a team that's awful. So crazy stuff out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Also, Aaron Judge, if you're facing Paul Skeens in the All-Star game, could you have a better at bat and don't swing?
Pitch? Yeah. Like take a little take see what Paul Skeens has to offer.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
It would be nice.
Like don't end it in 2 seconds.
His stuff is incredible. I wonder if he pitches for a long time with the Pirates because it doesn't feel like he will. But I mean, he left that game, Stacey, in the 8th inning with 2 outs, and Paul Skeens left as the game was tied 1-1. It was an unearned run the Pirates gave up, and they won the game, and he didn't get the win.
Yeah.
Crazy. George Kirby, also for the Mariners, struck out 14. The Mariners stopped a 4-game losing streak, but their week was so poor, they're now 2.5 games behind the Astros for the division lead, who aren't special by any means. So I don't think anyone coming out of the AL West is going to really be a threat to the Yankees. No one should be a threat in the American League, but definitely not out of the AL West.
Yeah, the AL West is they're not. Every team has a flaw.
A major flaw, though.
Right. Like
and the Texas Rangers, who we both really like. I'm sorry, Stacey. They don't win baseball games. I hate being that guy, and I love their roster. I love their pitching staff. I love their willingness to get better every single year, but they don't win games. Yeah. And they have time with their division to improve and catch up, but Corey Seager's been back and they still don't score.
Right.
So they're in a world of trouble.
All right. Well, thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. You get local analysis on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Obviously, this week we'll be recapping the series against the Royals. We got Fan Mail Friday coming up on Friday, so get those questions in, insiders and YouTube viewers. And that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.